So Haz, I hear you're Muslim. Salam alaikum. First of all,
Alaikum assalam. What's going on?
what's going on with you? Everything all good? I'm assuming all is good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Everybody's saying
Just been
comrade,
been
AK,
hella busy.
bro. You're okay. I gotta say one thing.
Oh, you got it. You got it in your name. AK is
Yes,
Kalashnikov, is it not?
it is, but it's also like
Yeah.
my initials and everything. My name is everybody calls me AK. It's YeoAK. Name stems from like a
Mhm.
while ago. I've always had it online when I was like a gamer kid. But yeah, the your community, the one thing I say before I even start and even talk, you guys are tight knit as fuck. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah, we're
they
we're we're
move like
we're
a
cult.
cult. I feel like every
We're
time
cult.
somebody gives you a sub, it's like, Comrade Haz, here's my 5 gifted for the ACP, take it. And they probably sit in front of the desktop, salute that shit away. And
I salute him right back, bro. That's how it is. We are a cult. That's how it is.
I mean, like you know I'm Albanian. You can see the flag. I mean, clearly,
Mm.
my family lived through the communist regime there. Like I've talked to my grandparents about it
So
many of
was it in
times.
Albania or was it Kosovo? Comrade Kid, what's up, bro? Appreciate you.
Oh no, it was in Albania. I'm from the south of Albania. Well, like
Oh, in
south
Albania,
central. Yeah,
Albania. Okay, got you.
yeah. They
And
lived
you're
under.
Muslim as well?
Yeah, I'm Muslim, but I'm converted Muslim. Like I wasn't raised into the
Oh,
religion.
your family wasn't.
No, not really. Well, that's due to communism. All right, just
Amila with the 10, what's up? Yeah, but people still got family backgrounds. Like originally, was your family Muslim or what?
no, not really. Well,
What
like
the fuck, bro? What you just said, bro? Wade with the 40.
yeah,
Holy fuck.
yeah. See,
Bro, you
what the
activated them,
fuck?
bro. Wade with the 10. Holy shit. Amila, thank you so
Hey,
much, guys.
hey, I got you, bro. I got you. Your bills are paid today. All right, thank me for that. No,
All
but
right.
but yeah, technically, like they were Muslim, but nobody's practicing at all. And like, if anything, they're more
No, yeah, I
anti-faith than
get that. I
anything.
get that. But I have this theory that actually Yellowstone, what's up, man, with the 10? I got this theory
What the
actually that
fuck?
listen, 99% of religion, and
Mm,
okay, I'm exaggerating, whatever, but I'll tell you, 99% of religion is feeling, which means it's in the unconscious.
mm,
How many Muslim atheists have you met that still will not eat pork? Or they're non practicing and they won't touch pork? Albania, I get that they went
yeah.
through a thing where yeah, I get that. But if you're in the States, bro, what the fuck is going on? TMIZ. What's going on with the 25? What's up, bro?
Yeah, I
Holy
just got this
fuck.
guy's rent paid in one stream. You know what, Haas? You're welcome. ACP, good shit. Yeah, I was also gonna say one thing. Like, even though we might not fully agree on the political aspects or anything like that, the one thing I will
Mm,
give you guys was definitely the cult-like movement, how tightly knit you are,
mm.
and the edits. Have you seen the edits? Like, what the fuck, bro? Like, I
A
look
lot of
at
that
that shit and
shout out Cosmic Operations, Cosmic Operations. He's been doing that for 5 years since the
holy
launch of
shit.
the infrared movement. He has never stopped. He's been pumping out those edits for 5 years. I'm glad he's getting the appreciation he deserves because
Nah, because we're all seeing them, bro.
he,
We're all seeing them.
yeah, he's been under the radar a long time, and Jackson's always been a big fan of his, and I guess I've been taking Cosmic Operations for granted in a lot of ways. It's just sometimes he makes some really crazy ones, like some scary ones, like where he'll take something out of context and I'll be like, I will nuke you. And then he'll show the White House and be like, plan in target. Missile is launching to the White
Okay,
House.
you
I'm
see
like,
now.
yo, 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 yo.
You're
That's
gonna
me.
get Haas kicked out. Well, are you in America? If you mind me asking.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna get this guy kicked the fuck out the country. Well, they're putting the White House saying nuke target lock. Get the fuck out, bro.
I don't know,
They're
man.
getting you out of this country.
That's why I can't. That's why it's hard for me to always publicly avow cosmic operations. But he's very good at what he does. I could
Yeah,
say that.
it's been cooking. But yeah, what were we talking about? We were talking about religion. How you said most of the time, not you said 90% of the time it's in the mental, right? It's not physical.
Yes, it's in the heart.
Mm.
Religion mainly is about feeling. It's not about mental dogma. So the things we think in our heads that we think we know with certainty, that's in our heads actually. Most of religion actually comes from the heart. Actually, there's this person who said something which is so true. The heart actually tells the truth and the mind plays tricks.
I think it's 50-50, to be honest. Like, cause
You
me,
need you need the mind. You
mm,
need the mind as the thing to articulate the feeling. But most of religion is feeling.
Yeah, but I feel like you can't have the feeling if not for the mind. Because if it's just the
I
feeling,
agree. No, I agree. I
yeah,
agree. Well. You need the mind to articulate it. 100%. MIG, what's up?
I
You
think I
need the
feel like
mind for articulation.
you need. I think for me personally, you need the mind to believe it. The only reason why I am feeling it
Mhm.
so deep in my heart with Islam is
Yeah.
because definitively, to me, it proved its test through time, through miracles,
Yeah.
and through everything
You
that it is the full on truth.
you
I
you need
established that through logic,
yeah.
which comes from the mental.
Well, I would say the mind, you need it to believe because it's like you need eyes to see light, right?
Yeah,
But it's a means to an end.
I do feel what you're saying, and I understand the same thing
Like
where it's like
sometimes
even if
people
it's
make an
nihilistic.
idol, they make an idol out of the mind through philosophy,
Yeah, but that's like the atheist homosexual.
Because
Like I'm not gonna lie. Sorry,
I know, but that's the type of
because
shit that they're on.
with them it's like
I
okay,
mean,
yeah,
like
I'm so
the
smart.
Redditors, you're talking about Redditors basically.
Pretty much, yeah. The fucking
The Redditor types. Yeah, the Redditor types, that's what they do though. They completely eliminate uh, you know, they completely eliminate belief and they just go for pure logic which doesn't exist. Because if you know what logic means, logic comes from the root word logos, right?
Mhm.
The guy who discovered logos was a Greek guy named Heraclitus. He was the most mystical guy, one of the most mystical people of the entire pre-Socratic tradition, right? So the guy who basically invents the root principle behind logic itself was not logical. Heraclitus was not a logical man. He was very intuitive and he was very mystical, actually.
Yeah, so if you think about it, it's like the person who they're following that created the term logic through logos. I know what you mean, like through the Greeks.
Mhm.
He was a spiritualist himself, but then these modern
Yes,
day Redditor atheists, that's
yes,
like their complete
exactly,
anti. They're completely attacking that 24/7.
exactly. That's exactly it.
Now, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with you when it comes to communism, right? Because
Mhm.
obviously it depends how it's ran, but the way it was ran in Albania with the communism, it was super, super strict on the religion. And that's kind of what
That's
ended
true.
up destroying the future generations and making the country very agnostic nowadays. Whether they're Christians or Muslims, people are not practicing like that unless they're like up in the mountains and they kept their traditions through the years.
Yeah, the thing about I've heard this argument from Russians as well sometimes is that, well, they'll say is that, look, under communism there was morality. It wasn't degeneracy. It
Yes.
wasn't it wasn't the degradation of humanity. Space Time, what's up with the five? But because they went so hard with the atheism, when communism fell, the capitalism came in and it fully, when you combine capitalism with the atheism, it was like Satan on earth, right?
True.
And so they said the spiritual protection that was religion was lifted and eliminated. So one of my friends from Russia told me that once. And basically to that, I would say, look, religion in the era we live in now is new. Before the early modern period, people lost touch with faith. They were just doing habits and routines without any actual conviction. And a lot of times, the religious authorities and clerics were very deeply corrupt. And all they would do is whoever's in power, they would enforce the will of whoever's in power, right?
Yeah, I mean, I
And
saw that with
so,
the Ottomans, like with Ottoman history, especially how they ran through the Balkans. There was definitely a lot of corruption there, especially towards their
yeah,
late years. Beginning, not so much. They were kind of great, but after like fucking 500 years of ruling over, those last few years, the corruption really spread. They would do this really gay thing, actually, where like in Albania, we have a dance. It's called the Valle, where we like hold hands and dance around in a circle. They would not do that, but they'd have their dicks in each other's asses and going around in a circle like
what?
that. Like yeah, the Ottoman
What?
Turks, like it's super gay. I don't know
All right.
why they got that, but
I
yeah,
don't know
the
nothing
late
about that, right?
Ottomans, that's what they were doing. No funny shit. I'm not kidding you. I'm being 100% serious. We're in a serious combo.
Bro,
But
that's, I don't, I don't even know if I believe that. I'm gonna be
bro,
honest. Like,
there's
that's
like pictures
crazy
and
shit.
depictions of this. I swear.
I don't know what the hell that is, but that's, I don't know what that can't be real, man.
I'm telling you. Okay.
That can't be real. Anyway, moving on from that very vivid picture you gave us.
Mhm.
Um,
It was to kind of add to your point, bro.
but no, yeah, the thing. Well, I would say mainly that religion So the modern world, when technology is invented with British and European colonialism throughout the world, the rise of communications technology, the telegram, the printing press, you name it, just this rapid acceleration of how we experience time,
Mm,
people lost touch with the meaning of faith and the religion, right? Because it
true.
was placed out of context. And when this basically started happening in the past, let's say 400 years or so, it got to a breaking point where religion was a tool of people in power. It just that's what it served and functioned as. And if there were still religious, righteous people who were like, good people who stood up for the original meaning or whatever, they had no way of articulating that in a modern context. They were lost and they were confused and discombobulated by the context. So that's why communists were really against religion, actually, because they were more monotheistic than the monotheistic religions themselves. Because the communists were saying, we're not going to have this separate thing called religion where there we're going to be good and we're going to be moral, we're going to be ethical. Then we're going to have politics where we're going to be devils. Then we're going to have economics where we're basically going to be Zionists who cheat and exploit and, uh, you know, fuck everyone over. We're going to have a comprehensive moral vision of becoming a better humanity, right?
But that's why we have Islam though, because we have the moral aspect of it when it
I
comes
don't
in religion.
disagree. I don't
We have
disagree,
the
but
governments
Islam,
in
yeah,
Sharia, and then we
I
have
don't
our own system
disagree.
too.
I don't disagree, but Islam still needed a new articulation because it was forgotten. After the Ottomans collapsed, the Muslim world was asleep, and it was for a lot of things were forgotten. In Saudi Arabia, the British-backed Wahhabis basically took over and monopolized and corrupted Islam throughout the entire world.
I can
And
agree with that. Yeah, they push a pussy version of it. They push a watered
right,
down version of it.
right. And the thing is, something changed around the 70s, especially with the Iranian Revolution in 79. For the first time, Islam was being articulated in the modern context.
Mm,
And for the first time, Islam started to be the thing that was fighting Israel, that was fighting the US empire, that was fighting for justice on earth. For a long time, the clerics were not that active in the struggle, right? They weren't fighting the British that aggressively. They weren't fighting the French that aggressively. They weren't really fighting Israel that aggressively either. Only around the 70s did this really start to change, right? And this is because of more modern theorists. And I'm not a big fan of the Muslim Brotherhood, but Sayyid Qutb or whatever, he drew a lot from Marxism actually. So if you know who Sayyid Qutb is, if I'm saying it right,
I'm not sure. Explain it. If you like describe him, then I'll probably
he was one of the founders of the Muslim Brotherhood that would eventually become Hamas and all that kind of stuff, right?
Okay, okay.
And he was reinterpreting or he was rearticulating the meaning of Islam in the light of the revolutionary movements of his heyday. He was very inspired by Marxism, by socialism, and so on and so on. I don't agree with him or endorse him, but what I'm
Mm.
trying to say is that that revolutionary vigor that we see in world Islam today um, was not something the communists 100 years ago were dealing with or responding to. It just didn't exist at that time,
So you're saying
right?
at the time the Muslims weren't really as one, or they're
No, they weren't.
yeah.
They weren't. They were very scattered, very divided, and the religious clergy and authorities were just bribed and corrupt for the most part.
So your point is what, that communism needed to come in and make that hit for the religion to have a bounce back? Is that like the greater plane here?
I think that communism was needed regardless because there was moral decay and corruption in the world. There was a
Mm,
lack of righteousness ruling the world. Like the Islamic caliphate of the Ottoman Empire, that was gone. It had corrupted for over 100 years at least, right? The great era of like these righteous Islamic empires, that was gone for a long, long time. The world was ruled for hundreds of years just directly by money, right?
true.
And the principle of an authority that is righteous, that is moral, that is aligned with creation and with humanity, that did not exist. So if you think about it, the way I think about it, because I am a Muslim, the
Hmm.
way I think about it is God is so his plan is so powerful, his creation is so powerful that even when we lack the clarity, even when we lack the clarity and guidance directly, he's still somehow making sure that righteousness exists on earth, even if it's in a form that's unfamiliar to
I mean,
the
even
religious texts.
when we were talking about it, like the way communism was ran back in Albania too, they definitely took a lot of shit from Sharia. Like you were saying it, how you have a Russian friend as well that talks about, well, under communism people were more moral, but yeah, because it was coming straight from Sharia. The way the law and shit worked, if you were to commit certain types of crimes, you would either be executed or humiliated in public, so everybody saw it too. Like in Sharia, where
Mhm.
there would be like public stonings or let's say even fucking beheadings, throwing people up, whatever. It's done for a reason, and there's a strict law and a strict rule, so the public stays away from it, and also it instills the right type of fear within the nation as well to not get near these acts because that's what they were doing.
Yeah, Albania was hardcore, and Hoja came from a Bektashi background, I believe, from his family background. And this is what I mean to say that people can become atheists in their head,
Yeah.
but eliminating religious faith in your heart is a lot more. It takes takes many generations actually.
Mm.
You know, people don't know this. Changing your religion for populations, that's always something that took centuries.
Yeah, it's a
You know,
process, 100%.
Muslims were ruling when they after the Umayyads and the other Muslim empires. By the time of the Abbasids, I think by that time it'd been hundreds of years since the Muslim conquest,
Mm-hmm.
and the majority of the Levant had not even become Muslim yet. They were starting to mix and syncretize. But the process of people converting from one religion to another is actually spans multiple generations usually, right?
I feel like it really does need to sit in. It's not an automatic thing, especially when religions are
Right.
coming in through empires.
So
People
what I'm
will
trying to
tend
say
to
is
see
like
them though. Yeah, yeah. Go
the communists officially had atheism in Russia, in Albania, and elsewhere, and so on and so on. But if you actually look at the patterns, the morality, what was in people's heart, and so on and so on, the things they just took for granted, unconsciously, they were still religious.
Mm.
Like in the Soviet Union, the amount of times that the Bible is cited in the Soviet Constitution is unreal. Just the Bible directly is cited. And even Putin today says that the moral code of the communist builders, which was the handbook to establish, the moral principles of the communists, he said it's the same thing as the Bible.
Mm.
It's like one for one, right? And so in Albania, yeah, you see the same thing. Yes, officially they're atheists, but have they actually fully abandoned the faith? Unconsciously, it's impossible.
Well, the thing is with us, it's instilled deep because even before
Yeah.
communism, we had the Kanun of Leg Dukajini, which that was the official law system before communism,
Mhm.
right? And this was kind
Right.
of like a morals book, a morality book for Albanians. And in there you see shit like eye for an eye. If somebody does this to a member in your family, you have the right to do it in this person's member in your family. So the reason why those religious values took is because if you looked at the Kanun, it was just like somebody took the Bible and the Quran and meshed it all into one and created a book that was universal for the whole entire
Mhm.
nation.
And
But the
and
point,
Stalin was actually the one who warned Hoja about the anti-religious shit. And Hoja,
yeah, he
he took,
doubled down. He said, "Fuck that
yeah.
shit." Now I'm real communist, and then he cut them off.
But you know that story when Hoja and Stalin met, and Stalin said, you know, the religious feelings in the people have been there for centuries, and you think it's easy to get rid of that, but it's actually so much deeper than you think.
Mhm.
And he said, you must not offend the religious feelings of the people. He told that to Hoja because Stalin knew that from experience. He himself had an awakening. A lot of people say he was a practicing Orthodox Christian toward the end of his life. He saw, he rehabilitated the Orthodox Church and so on and so on. Stalin was very wise about this thing, right? And he was trying to teach. It was actually about the issue of pork. I think Enver Hoxha was eating pork, and Stalin noticed, and he goes, "You know, pork is prohibited in Islam, right?" And it's almost like he was policing him. That's my interpretation, at least.
Mhm.
So
It was
he
kind of
was
to
like
remind
checking
him and
him.
bring him back a little bit, but Yeah, Hoja, he was raised. I think you're right on that. That he was born and raised Bekteshi. Bekteshis, bro.
Hmm.
Honestly, in if we're to look at it with clear Sunni Islam, they would be part of Takfir. Like they would not be. They're like a heretical sect. All right, I'm not like I know what they do. I've
But
seen their practices. I've seen it with my own eyes. Like they've made alcohol halal for them. They have crazy other rituals as well. So it's not like he
well,
was
there's I
fully
know there's
raised with the
modernized
message.
I know there's modernized forms of Bektashiism that just became liberalized today. But the thing that's bad about what happened to Islam after the Ottomans is that the Saudis basically, with British backing and purely because they were lucky and stumbled upon oil and they had the oil revenues, they standardized and exported a version of Islam that destroyed Islamic traditions throughout the world, many of which were Sufi. And people think Sufism is just this like liberal, wishy washy type of like bullshit hippie stuff. But if you study real Sufism throughout history, Sufis were militants who were taking up the sword and the gun to fight colonial invaders, for example, in Africa, right? In Western Africa.
Mhm.
Entire rebellions were led by Sufis. The avant garde of the Ottoman armies, the Janissaries that were doing all the fighting, they were part of secret Sufi orders, usually, right?
A lot of them, the Ottomans were Sufis themselves, bro.
The more intense and fanatical and devoted you were in the past in terms of your willingness to die for the cause, that was considered something very Sufi, you know? So
Yeah,
I don't think Sufism should be dismissed as the modern form that you see today, which is just like, more wishy-washy individual stuff. It's much deeper and much more
they
profound than
I
that.
mean they just tend to be way more spiritual. They take everything in a spiritual sense rather than literal. They do have some
Not
practices that
necessarily,
go off the scale
it's
though.
more that they focus on the purification of the self completely so that nothing is left but devotion to God. And that's what
Mhm.
it's always been about. It's never, the Taliban are Sufis?
Yeah, they have their asharis, yeah.
Yeah, they began as Sufis. So Sufism doesn't mean, you know, wishy washy hippie stuff. So
I mean, I didn't view it as that. I definitely viewed it as more like they have more study of the self, right? They look inward. They're very inward people,
it's
and
not,
they are
well,
very spiritual.
they
It
look
is. I think it
inward
is.
to, annihilate the self in God. The whole point is to eliminate all barriers between yourself and devotion.
And I think that's a great aspect. And
That's
I
the
don't
inner
I won't
jihad.
I won't really fully agree with a lot of the Sufi beliefs, but I do agree with what you said on the Ottoman. I mean, on Saudi after the Ottomans fall,
Hmm.
because this version of Islam that is currently being pushed within the mass media, it's a very watered down thing. Like they come around, they be like, "Oh
Hmm.
yes, we're Muslim, brother.
They, you know what
join the
it is?
Muslims. We are the religion of peace." And it's like, fuck no, we're the religion of justice first of all. But they come off really pussy, and then you have like these Starbucks hijabis that like the liberal hijabis, the liberal Muslims. I think that shit's gotta go. That does not mesh with us whatsoever. You can't one day be saying La ilaha illallah and the next day saying who's ready to fight for trans rights. They don't mix. They don't mix.
Well, look, the Saudi version of Islam, the main thing with that is that it's a Talmudic version of Islam.
In
Because
what
if
way?
you
How
know
would you
what,
stem that?
because Talmudism is textualism, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's this idea that in the Talmud, it's just the dead letter of the law. It's not the spirit of the law, right? It's this specific interpretation of things.
Mm-hmm.
So when you remove and get rid of the soul and the context behind things, you end up having a situation where people, insist upon form for form's sake without actually thinking about faith and what the reason is behind
Mm-hmm.
things, right? Because when the prophet first, started spreading his message, there was no established religion at all. So there's a reason people followed him. And the reason people followed him wasn't just because of his words, it was because of the content of those words, because they made sense to people. And it was also because of the righteousness of his actions, right? So
True.
if you don't have those two things, the meaning and the righteousness of action, text and words are dead.
Yeah, because God proves Himself through his writings 100%, like through his speech, which is the Quran itself,
Yeah.
but he also proves himself through what happens in the world, miracles wise, how things end up,
Well,
even
that's what the
prophecies
speech
whatsoever. Yeah,
articulates. The speech
exactly.
is articulating the universe, right?
And I, you know,
When
it's
they
funny.
say the
I
core,
found some. I got some
yeah,
drawback like that myself because they have started to follow the religion in a very, it is a Talmudic way where it's like the text is
mhm,
this and this is that, where they're even starting to put some hadith over the Quran itself. Like the hadith
right,
is our teachings of
exactly,
the Prophet, but the Quran is literally the written word of God in our view. So
and
I
it's
had,
co-eternal, right?
yeah, exactly. And I had made a statement before, like on Twitter. This was maybe 2 weeks ago, where I was starting to question the age of Aisha radiallahu an, right? Because if you look at historical accounts and different hadiths, you can come up to a different conclusion. And then it's like all of
Yeah,
these Wahhabis and
no,
Saudi bots came in. Brother,
yeah,
no,
it's
why
the
you question? Brother, why you
notice
question? I'm like,
it's
dude, I only
these
joined the religion because I
it's the
question
Wahhabis,
everything.
right? It's the Wahhabis and the Zionists that insist upon this extremely fringe, nonsensical notion that she was, 9 years old or something. And it's really sick and perverted because the mainstream traditions of Islam do not see that. They don't sign off on that and agree with it. And of course, within the Islamic tradition, it's horrific. Like historically, part of Islamic culture, it's unthinkable and horrific, right?
I'm still kind of questioning it. To be honest,
Mm.
it's one of those things where it's like whether it be or whether it isn't, it doesn't affect your dogmatic belief in the religion. It doesn't affect your akira, anything like that. To be honest, this is just like a little moral construct. And even those guys, if you are to stand on it's 6 and 9, it is what it is. This hadith says this, so it has to be that. You can't argue that. You know, like if you go back 100 years ago and look up the world's age of consent, how it varies country to country, you can't
Bro, that
argue that. You
shit,
know,
no, but that shit that's a sick way for them to
I think it tends to be
I
cope.
don't
It tends to just
I
be
don't
cope for
agree.
the most
No,
part.
I don't agree with that idea at all that it's even possible to entertain,
Yeah.
that such a young age. I mean, it's ridiculous to me.
I mean
Um
that's why once I saw
I
evidence.
think I think the people that are pushing that are sick perverts. They're either enemies of Islam from without or they're enemies of Islam from within. They're either sick perverts within Islam or they're sick perverts who are trying to demonize and slander Islam. That's just what I see it as.
Yeah. There is the difference of opinion obviously within the madhabs, but it does matter.
Mm,
But now let's talk because we've been talking about religion a lot, right?
mm.
We've been covering the religious aspect. Let's cover the government aspect of it, right? Let's cover how you
There's a guy
Haas.
named Vlad Valencia who's very anti-Islam in my chat. Vlad, I'm going to invite you to join the debate or join a debate, and you can just use your voice to say what you want to say because you're spamming my chat. I'm not banning you. You're not being bad. And he's LARPing as Vlad the Impaler. Vlad the Impaler was literally trained up by the Ottomans. He was literally an Ottoman subject. Why do you think we're scared of? I like Vlad the Impaler, actually.
Okay, you
He
know,
was an Ottoman.
don't leak this, but even like our national hero Skanderbeg,
Skanderbeg.
he was trained up by
Right.
the Ottomans too.
So, he turned on them. So, you know how many times the Janissaries turned on the Sultan? You think this is just Ottoman court intrigue? You think he was this like? You think he was like this like? You think he's like you? He's like this Zionist guy coping and crying about Islam all the time. That was just Ottoman geopolitical court intrigue. It's literally like he was just a part of that history.
Honestly, I feel like during
Nobody,
those Ottoman
has
times,
a problem with him.
I feel like during Ottoman times within the Balkans, the Ottomans themselves, well, not the Ottomans, but the
No,
countries
yeah,
that
he's saying
were being
Crusader is
oppressed.
not Zionist. This is how you know this guy's a clown.
Yeah, I mean,
The Romanians were Orthodox Christians. During the Crusades, the number one victims of the Crusades were the other churches, right? Did you know that? When they went to Byzantium and they massacred the city of the Constantinople, they looted it. Then they went and they destroyed all of the Eastern Christian churches in Egypt and in the Levant and so on and so on. They wanted to take out all the rivals to Rome, right? So what are you even talking about? Please go ahead.
I mean, they didn't even help when Constantinople was getting raped and turned into Istanbul. The Catholics were over there like, that's not our problem, dude.
I mean,
Let
look,
it
man, I don't
happen.
listen. I don't like this idea of rape or something, because it's not how I see it,
Mm,
actually. Because when he took over Constantinople, it was a huge show of respect when he converted the cathedral to a mosque, because he was asserting there was a continuity of the faith, you
Yes,
know?
that was based.
And the church in Constantinople was not destroyed or dissolved, and people were
No, I
not
mean it's still
forcibly converted.
preserved till today.
Yeah.
It's still preserved till today.
And the point was not to humiliate the Greeks and the Byzantines or whatever. This is some sicko modern politics
Mm.
that we have adopted today, which is this is like some kafir shit, you know? It's like trying to
Never,
humiliate
never
people.
have I
And
heard Haas try to type here. This is some cat for shit.
no, it is. It's some sick shit. I mean, back then they had ideas of honor and they had ideas of respect, and they didn't just
And
see it in this way, you know?
it was through faith as well. Like if it was a practice, well, because more there people were, I think they were more men were more masculine, more
Mm,
honorable in general. But even
right.
the real Muslim would see the real Catholic or the real Orthodox
Yeah.
guy, and they would still have that mutual respect because they're
They would
God
have
fearing men.
respect. They would trade with each other. They
Exactly.
would, this idea,
It's only now where
Islam
I feel
is,
like it's gotten
yeah.
very divisive between the Abrahamic faith. It's like, okay, the Jews can kind of keep
What's,
that shit over there a
yeah,
little bit,
it,
but
it's, it's, it's a lot of people online who are LARPing. Honestly, it's just the truth.
I have a question for you now, Hans.
Yeah.
The biggest one that I see nowadays that has in recent times very, very much divided the movement. Because back in 2024, if you looked at kind of the right on the internet, you kind of saw a unison between Muslims and Christians alike fighting
Mm.
against the evil of the Zionist regime. But there's one guy who's Mexican and Sephardi who recently has changed a lot of his rhetoric. I think you know him,
Yeah.
Pablo Fuentes, Nick
Right.
Fuentes. And what do you think about that? He was happy as fuck about switching up on the Muslims and now pushing this anti-Muslim rhetoric. And it seems like he's been pushing some pro-Zio rhetoric as well. What are your thoughts on that?
He got some call during the Charlie Kirk thing. It's just got to be that he got some call during the Charlie. I mean, I've always thought he was you couldn't. We were against him for a very long time, actually, because of how sketchy he is, how he moves, what a snake he is, how disingenuous, dishonest he is. He has no principles. And the whole time, he's not doing anything from principles. If at any moment the regime would lend the hand to him, he would take it, right? So he was LARPing as a dissident and an enemy of the regime. It's just because he was not in the club. Any opportunity he could get to get inside the club, he will take. And he made his gambit during the Charlie Kirk thing. During the Charlie Kirk assassination, he thought that since Charlie Kirk is out of the way, he's going to be brought up to replace him. And finally, he can hug Ben Shapiro and he can reconcile with all of these mainstream Republicans, and that the GOP is going to embrace him. And he made that gambit and he alienated a lot of people because he did that. But then he fucking failed and they didn't embrace him. And so, now he's forced to live with those consequences. So that's really how you have to look at it.
I feel like a lot of the reason why in current times, like this year specifically, the movement has been split a lot. You see so much infighting between the Muslims and Christian. It's like, bro, hold on.
Mm.
We've had a common enemy for the last 2 years. Now we're gonna start doing this shit, this back and forth. And it all stems from Nick's rhetoric. He used to speak very highly on the Muslims, though. He used to. Back in the day, he'd be like, yeah, they worship the Father. He would bring up there's like the Catholic.
He flip flops. That's it. It's just flip flopping.
He did.
It's just
Honestly,
flip flopping. I mean,
my
you.
take on Nick though, I just think
Yeah.
I think he's this selfish guy. I think he has a very Machiavellian approach to everything. And to be honest, I think he wouldn't give a flying fuck about his movement, America First, or I think he might even try and destroy America
No
First.
principles. Look,
if he's not the
yeah.
forefront of him, he wants it all to be surrounded
Yeah.
around himself.
I want you to look something up when you get the chance. I never knew who he was, and I spoke to him one time, right, or a few times. But the first time I spoke to him, I went in not really knowing who he was. I knew that there was this reputation surrounding him, but I was open-minded in the sense that I don't trust what reputations are anymore, because I was being fucking lied about a lot, right?
Yeah.
So I give people a chance to talk to me themselves and tell me who they are themselves, right? I spoke to him. You need to watch that conversation back. Oh my God, I looked back at it kind of recently, and I was like, what the fuck? He was talking about how he's like against capitalism. He's for, people having health care. He thinks it's unfair how much You know, people he likes Stalin a lot. He thinks these racial divisions are no good, you know, these all these kinds of things. It's like it was incredible to watch it. He was very much signaling left wing in a crazy way. And I was like, what the fuck? So he was just completely lying opportunistically or not telling the truth about his position.
I mean, I think he was just
Because
trying
if
to
you
gain
see
over
today,
you.
he's talking about how, oh, I like Elon Musk. He's a trillionaire. That, you know, socialism is retarded, all this kind of stuff. It's like, what the fuck? So because people sometimes come to me, like, you know, Haz, you were cool with him that one time. And I'm like, I didn't know who he fucking was. And plus, look at what he was saying. How would I fucking know, right?
Mhm. I mean, when it comes to Nick, I just think he's a LARP, and I think he'll go everywhere. He'll target every little audience to gain whatever he
Mm.
can off them to grow his movement.
It's
Because
pure,
he admitted it. He
yeah,
literally admitted it.
it's pure opportunism. But let's not talk to him
Yeah,
about him too much because it's just, you know, there's no need, you know.
yeah. It's just I feel like I wanted to get your opinion on it from the communistic aspect.
Mm,
Also, you know what's funny? I did
yeah.
my what's it called, the test where it shows politically where you stand. It was like a
Mm,
3-page test, and me personally, I would love Sharia, right? Because I think that's God's decreed law, and I think that is
mm.
perfect. I think it's obviously from God. It has to be perfect. But I was a left leaning authoritarian.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, that's the based one.
That what's
The top left. Yeah,
yeah,
top
it was
left.
literally top left leaning, but authoritarian.
Hmm.
But still, I am pretty impressionable. How would you sell communism in the United States to like the average Joe?
You know, um, I would say, I mean, it's all so very simple for me, but sometimes it's not enough when I say something like, why don't we elevate the common interests of the people as the supreme principle of governance? How we run the economy and how we run the government. And when I say that, people are like, that's so vague. And I'm like, yeah, because right now, institutionally, we enshrine the supreme interest that runs our finances, that runs our government, that runs every aspect of our economy, predatory private interests that don't give a fuck about the majority of people at all.
Mm,
When people think of private property, they're thinking of a guy with a fruit stand. Of course, everyone wants the guy with a fruit stand to keep his shit. Of course, when we think about our property that we can relate to, it's our dignity. Like I have a car or I have a home or I have clothes. Or someone wants to take that and that's redistribute it. That's like a violation of my fucking dignity, right?
yeah.
But how the fuck is somebody making all of our electricity their private property? Or worse, they're making it the private property of a banking institution that just rapes us and whose only goal is to rape us. Imagine there's a group called the Financial Rape Association. Their number one goal is to take as much as they can from us, right? These people literally own our water, they own our electricity, they own our energy, they own a lot of cases, they own our roads, definitely own most of our homes. They own all of our mineral wealth, our natural resources. They own our factories. They own our manufacturing. I mean, they own our bank, our finances, our U.S. dollar. Every dollar that's printed, they print it, and it puts us in debt. We have no choice, right?
Shout out
And
the
it's like,
Jews for the
why the
Fed.
fuck? Why that's not even rational. It doesn't even, it's like, to me, communism is common sense. Communism doesn't have to mean this crazy idea that, you know, we're going to take everyone's shit and put it in a pile and redistribute it. That's some stupid shit that they made up to make people afraid of common sense. Communism just means that the supreme principle is the common interest. And how do we know what the common interest is? Does it serve the majority or does it only serve the minority? And I know that's common sense, but that's what needs to be in command. And the only way to make that in command is if we have an authority higher than money, you know? if as long as money is the highest authority, then it's never going to be possible to change anything. So then you might ask, well, how is change possible then? Well, then the communists are going to come and they're going to say the one thing that can beat money just directly, in terms of physical force, numbers, strength in numbers. And who has the numbers? The working class has the numbers. You take every single person on Wall Street and you combine them and put them on a battlefield and then put every single working class person on the other side of the battlefield. Who wins?
I mean,
All they
obviously
can
the
have
people, but
all the money they have in the world would mean nothing, right? I know it's a retarded analogy or abstraction, but you get the basic idea. The
I
source of power has to be the numbers, and also another one, the numbers and where who's keeping all of this shit running, who's keeping the lights on at the end of the day, the people who are working, right? If they combine their power and decide to use their power in an organized way, that is the supreme authority in the nation.
yeah, but it's like then overthrow, but then what? You know, it's I understand you can overthrow this supreme authority because with capital, I think with
Mhm.
capitalism and communism, when you mark them down in idea, they both sound good and they can both work within a functioning society. The part where shit gets destroyed is when you add the imperfect man into the situation to implement it because the imperfect man always through history falls into corruption every
But
time.
just because but just because man is imperfect doesn't mean we should agree to be ruled by injustice.
100%, but it's also not just like capitalism the way it's being ran here is just this one thing and the direct opposition is just communism. Like there's other options and it can just be fixed with
I
certain
I
degrees, you
understand.
know?
I understand it seems that way, and it seems like why should it have to be one extreme or the other? But in practice, it comes down to that decisive confrontation.
Why should it
Because you look at
why can't it be Sharia? Like Haz, you grew up Muslim, why can't it be Sharia in your view?
I think if we want Sharia to be successful, it has to be communism.
But there is the rules for how the financial system should work, how things work.
So,
There is some communistic
but how do you
values
where are
to
you
it, some
gonna how are
socialist
you gonna
values.
how do you gonna enforce that though? Think about it. How do you enforce that?
I mean, how do you enforce it? It's
Under
technically
Sharia,
it promotes free market under Sharia, and then the socialist aspect would be zakat. Thing is, like people, like if you look at the
yeah, but no,
calculations.
no, that's the end goal. But I'm talking
Mhm.
from here and this Epstein regime. At the end of the day, look, and also, it's not about free markets for its sake. It was just governing how people in a dignified and righteous way interact with each other economically. But when you think about it, markets only exist when we don't have information technology to coordinate our economic association. You have to distill the essence because the context of these procedures and laws governing economic association existed at a time. There was no such thing as the telegram, there was no telephone, there was no large scale communications, there was no ability for people to coordinate at a large level, and there was no general, like what they call, industrial revolution type of enterprising, right?
Mhm.
And under Islamic empires, all the land and the infrastructure was always owned by the authority, always.
Yeah, it is very authoritarian.
But they owned it directly, like the infrastructure, the waterworks, the land. The idea in an Islamic world that somebody will come and say, I own the water. Hell no. You know who owns the water is the caliph or the sultan or whoever's in charge. They own, or God owns it, this ridiculous idea that you can just carve it up and say, this is my own personal belonging, even though everyone depends on it to exist in a dignified way. Unthinkable, right?
So
So, yeah, there was,
within
yeah.
your view, like let's say you were to implement communism today in America, would
Mhm.
people still have their right to their own land and property?
They would have the right to use it in a way
But
that,
it wouldn't be theirs.
well, land ownership, if it's just yours, it means you can do whatever you want with it.
True, yeah.
But even today, that's not possible. But the loophole that makes it a problem is if you can sell it to however you want, right? when you start having markets in land, which didn't exist in Islamic societies, you have things like BlackRock that eventually monopolize and own all of it and use it to exploit and enslave people. Because we as individuals can make decisions that make sense to us, right? But when enough people make the wrong decisions, all that shit adds up in a way that is poisonous for society, right? So, for example, yes, people should be able to own their land in the sense that they should be able to, live on it and dwell on it and use it in whatever way
How
they
about
see
pass it
fit.
down? How about pass it down?
Yeah, I'm not even against. In China, they have probably the best inheritance laws in the world. Probably they don't even tax it. So
But
I'm
but
not against that
but
in
you see
principle.
though,
But
it's like even
yeah,
with when communism is applied, it doesn't always have to be the full extreme. You don't have to be fully communist or fully capitalist.
though the
The
full
place where you're the
extreme.
best is when you're more towards the middle.
But
Like
listen,
you
the full
yeah,
extreme doesn't exist. It's a myth. It's something that they invented to scare people.
100%.
Communism, communism was never about making everyone the same. That's not what it ever was. Communism was never about eliminating all the differences and making everyone the same. All it was the revolutionary challenge and answer to the current capitalist system that we have, the comprehensive revolutionary overthrow of the current system. And that doesn't, there's no like communist book that says this is exactly how it has to look and exactly this way and so on and so on. It's like if you can recognize that we cannot reform this system, I don't think we can reform the Epstein system. I don't think we can make these incremental reforms. I think the system is fundamentally corrupt at its root, right?
But that system would be fundamentally corrupt whether it was capitalist or communist because
Even if
it
it,
has to do with
listen,
it's not the
yeah,
financial system, it's with the people that are in power. The
this is
people
this
in
is what I
power are
was,
completely sold out, and we know that now, you know?
but the system and the people in power, because this is how I'd put it, you know, is corruption inevitable? Maybe it is, but that's life. Life is ups and downs, right?
It cycles.
So right now, yeah, right now, if we're at a moment in the cycle where it's the revolutionary moment, saying that, well, because generations from now they might have to face the same thing, that means we shouldn't now. That's not an excuse. Life is a cycle, right? Life goes on. And, we shouldn't, just because we fear that eventually things might be corrupted or something in the future doesn't mean we shouldn't fight for what's righteous right now.
I agree with that 100%. I think we do need to make a dent within it for the next generations to take on and push forward and forward because obviously we want the betterment for society as time goes on. I'm just saying that doesn't necessarily have to be communism. Like I feel like you apply communism and you tie it in with a lot of things that I would definitely agree with you, but
Mm.
it doesn't have to be that
Listen,
route. You
the
know
way
what I
I
mean?
see it is, look, anything that's not communism is cutting it short. That's the
Really?
problem.
So is Sharia
Yes.
cutting it short?
Without communism, it would be cutting it short
But
because what it would become,
so you're saying we
because
need communism
Sharia
and
is
then
too
it would become that.
no, yeah, yeah. If we have communism, we will naturally have Sharia. But listen, real Sharia, because Sharia is being interpreted in the modern way
Yeah.
always. So there's different frameworks for interpreting it. Saudi Arabia has their own, and other countries, maybe Indonesia has their own. But is this real? Is this the actual way, the path to water described by the prophet? That's what Sharia really means. Is this really the intention behind it? Is Sharia really just about, taking this current uh, capitalist rape system that we have and just doing a little bit of some modifications here or there and having some legalisms here? No, Sharia was the comprehensive moral framework at the time to ensure people live in a righteous way, in a harmonious and unified way, right?
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to say something that'll probably shock you. The country in the world today that is the closest to Sharia law is the People's Republic of China, followed by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
Okay, I mean, this is a side question. We can move on to this later, but people in chat were asking about this. What about the Uyghurs? Like, what's up with that? I'm not saying that as like
It's a total psyop.
Can you tell me
Total
more on that?
psyop.
Because that's the one
Yeah.
topic I have not done research on. So what is
Mhm.
the psyop here? I love a good psyop. I love
Yeah, yeah.
studying into it to
So
debunk it.
basically,
Let's
yeah,
go.
they don't even do it that much anymore, but
Okay,
for
what the
about
fuck?
about 8 years ago or so, I think it was 8 or 9 years ago, the CIA and Radio Free Asia were pushing the story that China's engaging in a genocide of the Uyghurs, that
Yeah.
they're trying to exterminate and
The
get rid of all the
Uyghurs?
Uyghurs. Uyghurs,
Okay.
the people who live in Xinjiang, which
Yeah,
they
yeah,
call East Turkestan, right?
yeah.
So, to give you some background, there's been a separatist nationalist movement in Xinjiang for a long time. Never represented the majority, but it's like the Kurds and whatever other kind of separatist groups, right? And they were not religious, they were atheistic. The people who led that movement, they were actually Soviet aligned communists because, you know, the Soviets and the Chinese were fighting and beefing. You know how communists were in the past century, right?
Yes.
Hoja was fighting with both of them. so
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 it's
they were atheists, though. They had no connection to religion at all. This was never a religious issue. More recently, the Uyghurs separatists started turning and grifting, and the separatists, I mean, not the majority of Uyghurs, they started, speaking more in an Islamic way to get more support from Turkey or from Saudi Arabia or from the Gulf states, the wider Muslim world, right? And recently, the Chinese have been dealing with separatism like 8 years ago, and they cracked down on the separatism. The separatism was basically saying we want to take Xinjiang, carve it out, and leave China. And if they cracked down on that, and then the Western press came and they tried to sell to the Muslim world that China's oppressing Muslims; these are your Muslim brothers. But here's the interesting thing: I went to Beijing. Everywhere I went, there's halal food. I went to the Museum of the Communist Party of China, a huge, giant building. This is like a holy site for the Chinese communists. It's like a very sacred thing for them, right? Very serious. Right across the street, there's a halal food place, and the line went like a mile.
the
And it's all
Muslims are here to take over. They're
it's not
taking over
even
your
it's
country.
not even Muslims in line. It's just Chinese people love the halal food because who is making this Chinese halal food? They're people called the Hui Muslim, the Hui Chinese.
Mm,
So the Han Chinese, that's the dominant people,
yeah.
the Han, right? There's a huge population of people in China that have been there since the time of the Prophet, I believe, or immediately after the Prophet. They're called the Hui. The Hui are the same as the Han, but they're Muslims. Okay,
Oh shit.
and they're so big in China and in Beijing. It's like the restaurants are everywhere. They're not hard to find at all. They're very common. And basically, the Hui Muslims had never had any issues with the communist government at all. There's never been an issue. There's not, you don't see this, they're clamping down and persecuting Muslims. If they had a problem with Muslims, why is there no issue with the Hui, right? This is just about ethnic nationalism and separatism. It has nothing to do with religion.
So with the Uyghurs, it has nothing to do with their religion. It's more about them just
No,
trying to
no.
separate and pretty much destroy parts of
Yeah,
China.
they're trying to divide the nation, and it's rooted in nationalism. It has nothing to do with religion.
So in your view, the Uyghurs of recent, because I remember even before
Mm.
I did my whole deep dive into
Majority of
everything,
Uyghurs are proud to be Chinese. By the way, the majority of them are proud to be Chinese. They're loyal. They're proud. They're just a minority of people who were funded with foreign money, by the Saudis, by the Gulf states, and the Americans. You know who pushes this Uyghur bullshit as well? These fucking Zionists. Israel's been pushing it. You know why Israel's been pushing it? Israel hates China. Why? Because China's helping Iran. China's building economic agreements with Turkey, with Iran. They're building a framework where Iran can evade sanctions. And of course, China supports the Palestinians, always has. That's where this bullshit comes from. It's a big Zionist psyop.
yeah, because I
I mean,
remember, like I was saying,
these.
even before I became a Muslim myself, or even
Mm,
started the study, because I'm 21 now.
mm.
Before I even started the study of with politics and of religion in general, philosophy, psychology, anything, I would see the Uyghur shit. on my
You
For
know what's
You
funny?
page when I
Look
was a
up the
total
people.
normie, bro.
Yeah, look up the people who are pushing the Uyghur bullshit, like Drew Pavlu and all these others. Look at look them up. Right in 2018 or whatever, when they were saying this shit, same people today support Israel and say nothing about how Islam is the biggest cancer and most dangerous thing in the world. When have these people given a fuck about Muslims? Never.
So you're saying it was just like a bullshit grift push
Total
to
bullshit. It
garner
was
sympathy
total.
from us.
Yes, it was to grift on Muslims. Yeah, to trick Muslims because China has been the biggest friend of the Muslim world because of all the economic agreements. You know, I was in Iraq and I saw what the Chinese were doing in Iraq. They're building highways, they're building infrastructure, and the Iraqis were telling me the Chinese give us such good deals, we don't need the Americans anymore. The Americans have shitty construction, they have shitty building quality and materials. They're trying to bully us and sanction us. The Chinese don't impose any strings on nothing, right? They do it fairly and they give us opportunity. So, you know, it's a big psyop for sure.
Somebody said China's the biggest exporter to Israel, though.
No.
They're not? Then who is?
Exporter of what? China's the biggest number one exporter to the world
Yeah,
of
that.
manufacturing goods, you know, of shit in general, you know, your phones, everything. All roads somehow lead back to China, you know?
Oh, you did touch a little bit on how Israel in the modern day does pretty much hate China because of
Hmm.
their participation in BRICS and their
Yeah,
overwhelming help to Iran in general over that war. So
exactly.
so with the whole situation in the Middle East, with tensions that just keep rising and not falling between Iran, Israel, and now drag the US into it as well. In Haz's view, how does that situation end? Like what's the end result?
You want to know the truth? It's fucking crazy, but you want to know the truth?
What is it? Lay it on me.
Second American Civil War and World Revolution.
you
There's no way out.
you think that's
No,
the way it
this is the
goes?
end. There's no way out of this shit. Gas prices, we're running out of reserves for the gas right now.
Mhm.
The US cannot afford to fucking declare defeat. They can't. The ultimatum Iran's going to put on the US is to get the fuck out of the Middle East. Every single one of their bases has to evacuate, right?
The thing is,
Is the,
there was already talks for it though. I'm pretty sure they were near a peace deal, and then it was. Well, I don't know how true this is, but JD Vance
yeah.
came in and said, "Well, guys, Israel keeps tarnishing our peace deals because now he's trying to garner the youth a little bit and have a side with him."
Look,
Do
yeah,
you?
the peace deal is not going to happen because of what's going on in Lebanon.
Mm,
That's the thing. Israel is not going to fuck off from Lebanon.
no, they're not.
They will not abide. And yeah, so there's the peace deal is not going to happen, you know. Pakistan has tried very hard. I think Turkey's trying a little bit, but it's nothing will come of it. The war will continue indefinitely. The strait will continue to be closed. And we're going to start bleeding in this country because have you been
I
to the gas
fucking
pump?
yes, I faced that. Bro, of
Mhm.
course, the most Albanian shit. I pull up in my Mercedes
Yeah,
Benz. Before
yeah.
my gas tank was like 65. Now I'm paying
We're
like
still
eighty
running on our
dollars.
reserves. We're using our national reserves, okay?
Yeah.
And we're running out. By the midterms, after the midterms are over, we're running out of fucking reserves, right? I think what Trump is going to do is if enough of these socialists win in the midterms, who I don't agree with, by the way, about most things or a lot of things, I should say, he's going to use this as a pretext. He's going to say the communists are going to try to take over and we need to have emergency powers. There's going to be some civil war type of shit happening soon, probably. And yeah, we're looking at the end of the American empire.
So okay, this is my second question. Do you
Mm.
think the U.S. can actually go there and wipe the floor with Iran? Do you think they're holding back?
No,
Because that's what these politicians
no,
always say. We're not going all the
no.
way. We're holding back. You know.
They can't do anything. That would require boots on the ground. And if they do boots on the ground, they're going to get slaughtered.
Yeah.
And even if they could win, they could not morally, the morale level, they could not afford the loss of life of U.S. soldiers. That will, because they have no morale. The people are reporting there's no morale on the ground. Nobody who's fighting in the Middle East right now thinks this is a righteous war. They have zero morale. You got to think about something. What wins wars?
Propaganda, honestly.
No,
The soldier, they
but
need a strong
closer.
message. They
Morale.
yeah.
Morale wins the war. Why is it that the armies of the
That's why they,
Prophet?
but that's why also it like in
Yeah.
Vietnam, a lot of the soldiers were demoralized. That's why we kind of lost there, didn't we? Right?
Yes, of course. How did Genghis Khan conquer the world? He started with literally nothing. Nothing. He had nothing. The Prophet is the same way. The Prophet had only his message.
Yep.
You know, morale wins wars. That's why in Lebanon, are you on kick?
Yeah, I am. I am.
In Lebanon, Hezbollah defeated Israel. How the hell did they do that? You know, it's not like they had more advanced technology or anything like that in 2006. So, you know, yeah, morale is what wins wars. The US doesn't have any of that. So they can have all the technology in the world and they could say, well, we could just nuke them. Okay. We start dropping nukes on Iran, then Russia's going to do the same thing in Ukraine, and it's going to escalate into World War III for Europe. And,
So you think the
you know,
only way this ends up ending is just American defeat there with a revolutionary behind it?
if
Because if
I'm
that's
going
it,
to
then
tell you,
I'm kind of for it. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. I am.
America cannot
We need a revolution of
afford,
any sort, whether it be
yeah,
communist or anything, anything to get
I'll make a
Epstein
prediction.
regime out the
I'll make a
way.
prediction.
Let's go.
If or when America declares defeat, there will be a revolution at home. That's going to be the crack that everyone's going to say, this regime ain't shit. And they're going to stop fearing the regime.
But the thing is, people need to have that already though. Like when Trump was running, what was his thing?
They're close. They're so close, you would not believe how close they are.
Yeah,
That's
but
why when you go on
when
X
Trump was
today,
running though,
yeah,
when Trump was running, he was saying we should have never been in Afghanistan, we should have never been in
right.
Iraq, bitching about the
Mm-hmm.
wars in the Middle East. That was based. We sided with him for that. Now he
Mm-hmm.
comes into office and does the same exact thing. People don't notice this hypocrisy because of all the propaganda that's pushed through these news
Well, look,
channels.
if you go now to X, they're doing so much fucking damage control. Laura Loomer, go on Laura Loomer's profile, 1.9 million followers. Every post she makes gets 10K, 50K likes. Who's liking a Laura? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever met a single person in real life who is a fan of Laura Loomer?
No, they all just say she looks like
They're
a
botting
fucking
that shit
Miss
to do
Jigsaw.
damage control because they're fucking terrified that the population right now is the angriest it has ever been at the regime. And there's so much pro-regime slop on all of our timelines on social
Yeah,
media right now, like never
money.
before,
Woo.
Thank you, brother.
because they are doing a fucking massive, massive damage control psyop, and it's so transparent.
Yeah, even somebody in my chat, Sharpies, he said all of her likes are from India. And the thing is,
Probably, yeah.
they did do study on this when it comes to Pablo Fuentenberg and Jigsaw, Laura Loomer. When every time they do post a tweet, all of the initial traffic is from India, Bangladesh, and
Wait,
Pakistan,
you didn't, you
which
could
then
not.
pushes the tweet.
Yeah. How long did it take you to realize that Nick Fuentes' posts are all botted? Like they're all botted.
Once I looked at his Rumble number, saying he's getting like 40K live.
He is botted as fuck on X. He's the most botted account on X. I'll go and like right hand to God. He is the most botted person on X that people don't know is actually botted. Like what they have, it's not fully mapped out, but they have a very advanced bot network, which is one of those more advanced ones where they have the shit on the walls. Like they have a very high quality bot network where it's not actually getting discovered. They don't, it's not like cheap bots, you know, it's like the high quality ones that they have.
It's just generally Indians on different devices, like actually liking your shit. You're saying?
Yeah, they have access to some platform manipulation stuff that most of the public doesn't, for sure.
I mean, it
And
would make sense
it's
though,
so
because
obvious. For example, when Candace Owens ratioed him, it somehow was neck and neck. Like she was 36K, he got 31K. Really? Am I? What they were doing is, as she was ratioing him, they would bump him up a little bit. Then she would get more. They would get more attention, so she ratio him more. They would bump him up a little bit more. Finally, they stopped and gave up because they're like, "Fuck, we can't
I mean,
stop
let's
avoid
be
this
real.
ratio."
Let's just look at it from a regular worldview right now. Who is gonna win in an X ratio war? Nick Fuentes, who's at the lowest he's been in recent times after his generational run because of his recent beefs,
Mm.
or Candace Owens, who just finished
But
whooping
you
the
know,
floor with
I
Andrew
will tell you
Wilson,
something.
bro.
I will
What?
tell you something. The thing about Fuentes is the more you think about these people and talk about them, the more energy that they get in
True.
the air. And that's if you may not believe it, but I never really talk about that guy. And every interaction we've had was triggered by him talking about us.
Yeah, because he's trying to suck
We have
dick.
been living rent
He's trying.
free in
He's
his
trying to.
mind.
He's trying to come
We've
over
been
and grab
living rent
anything you got on
free
your side.
for like 3 years. We've been living rent free in his mind. We've been ignoring him. Only recently we started to fight back, but we just ignored for 3 years, right?
Yeah, you guys have been coming up, bro. Real shit. The ACP has been killing it recently. That's why, like, even one of my mods, I didn't even know, one of the mods that watched my stream, he's like a huge fan of yours as well. And he's like, yo, you gotta get on the show with Haz. I'm like, fuck it, he's live, let's do it. I've been seeing you guys everywhere. And the thing is, as the American population does become more frustrated, I can see how many more will lean your way. If it was me
Mhm.
during my time when I was just working my fucking goy job like 60 hours a week to make $23 an hour, and then I go to the deli. I'm in New York, by the way. I go to the deli in
Mhm.
Manhattan. I'm like, bro, I need a fucking Red Bull and a bottle of water, and I'm paying $7. I'm like, fuck, this is like damn near an hour of my work just for like a few commodities. You know what I mean? If you caught me back then, I'd probably be on your side. I'd probably be right behind you, saluting right now. But
I mean, yeah, I mean, but look, it's really the thing is, it's about the revolutionary way, you know? You don't have to think about ideologies as much as you have to think about, are we revolutionaries
Mhm.
or are we people who bow our heads down and submit to the status quo? And you have to think about what is the most
I will
effective
bow my
revolutionary
head and
path.
submit to the one and only above.
That, but you know, my view is that that is revolutionary. When you bow your head to the absolute, to the one, you're basically telling all the fucking Epsteins,
Go fuck
all these
yourself.
fucking people, yeah, you're saying, fuck you, you're nothing to me.
Yeah, because they want to prop themselves up as false idols, and that's what it's always
That's
been.
exactly.
It's a
And
form of
it's
strength.
a,
But
it's
revolution doesn't
exactly.
always mean communism. That's where I stand. You see,
Mm.
because
But you
I'm
do
all
have to
for it.
think,
Revolution,
you do
brother.
have,
I am with you.
but you do have to think about the question, why are these same people and their ancestors who are in power, why did they spend literally trillions of dollars to suppress communism more than all
Yeah,
the money in the
that is
world?
what I was thinking. Because honestly,
Mhm.
I think
That has
when truth is
always
out,
scared it's always scared the shit out of them more than anything, to the point where they made an alliance with the Salafis to fight communism. Meaning they made an alliance with people calling themselves Muslims. You know, the US didn't start fearing Islam until Khomeini in 79. Malcolm
yeah,
X and Khomeini. I would say Malcolm X and Khomeini. Those two were the first people. There's limited exceptions elsewhere, but mainly that's when they started fucking getting scared of Islam. They were fine when people were just reading books and praying and doing nothing else.
but when they saw
When
that
they,
there's an actual movement behind it, because
yeah, when they
it's a
started,
spiritual connection, it's a spiritual war and a physical war, and they're ready to do it.
yes, that's what started making them scared, you
Yeah, I mean,
know?
because when you see people that generally believe that, you know what, I fight you right now and I
Mhm.
win, I achieve
So what
greatness, and if I
I would say
die,
to
I
you,
achieve Jannah. Like you can't,
so
you know
what
what
I
I
would
mean?
say is like, look, even if you don't identify as a communist, you should still examine and study communism because those people were fighting the physical war for like 200 years, right? And there's something to be learned and gained from that.
True. I do see what you're saying, and as I was gonna
Mhm.
say earlier, the way I look at it in the modern sphere, everything that has some truth in it has been brutally attacked to keep
Mhm.
pushing the bullshit. And with communism, it has been brutally attacked, even to the point where
Mhm.
even within the school system is brutally attacked. Brother, I'm in
Oh yeah.
college and I take economics. My first semester there, the first semester that I was there in my economics 101 class, majority of it was the stem of how communism and capitalism started. But there was about a week's lesson of just how about how communism is like the worst thing to exist and we have to be ultra capitalist. And
I
that
just
threw me
see,
off.
yeah.
That shit threw me
I
off.
just
You're
see
selling it too
communism
much.
I see communism as the rediscovery of monotheism in the era of capitalism because people lost the fact that money is also an idol.
It is. It definitely is.
And and there's an idol worship that is all around us that we don't even name because we don't directly call it a god. We call it money, we call it the state, we call it this institution, that institution, but these are idols.
It does stop you from your faith as well. It can
Mhm,
prohibit you from like practicing your faith fully. And I faced that myself. I think we have all faced that. With money, it's a
mhm,
big factor. You need it to live. It's energy. It's literally energy. It's physical, but it's
mhm,
also energy in its own form. And it is highly idolized in the capitalist system.
mhm.
I don't think
And
I'd be
they've
a full
perverted
commie. I think
God.
I think I'd be
They've perverted
socialist if anything.
they've perverted God into the all-seeing eye that you see on the dollar. And their version of
Well,
God
mm,
is a metaphysical force that is looking out for and justifying and protecting the existing system. And that's not the God of
well that would
the
be
prophets.
that would be the Antichrist. That would be the Dajjal. Like the whole one eye symbolism. What does it come from? We
Absolutely, it's the Dajjal.
because we know the
But they're
Dajjal is
trying to
gonna
make
come with one
people
eye
they're trying
only.
to make people think that Dajjal is God. Like
100%.
if you go to these evangelical churches, who are they worshiping? Are they worshiping the God of the prophets in these evangelical churches? Are the Wahhabis worshiping the God of our prophet? I don't think so. I think they're worshiping something else.
There has been a huge push on Dajjal worship as well. If you look at it over
Mm,
on TikTok and Instagram, there's people cosplaying him, worshiping him, and it's like the full Islamic Dajjal. They will wear the whole thing of how we see him. The one eye covered, kafir on his forehead, etc. That wave is already here, and I think the Epstein regime and let's be real, it's the Israeli regime is gonna end up pushing it all forward. They're literally ushering him in at the moment.
Yeah, let me see what's going on with Kick. What the fuck? Kick is like not
It,
working.
it, it was glitching out like yesterday as well, brother. Oh yeah, what the
Really?
fuck? This XML file does not appear to have
Oh,
any.
that's for you too? Okay.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Thought that was just me.
I just refreshed my dashboard. My chat's like frozen too. I can't even know my chat's dead. Are we even still live, dude?
We're probably not, bro. Listen, honestly, it was good talking and
No, it was great to
um
connect, man. W,
yeah,
bro. I like that. That was
we're
actually a
gonna
good
we're gonna
conversation.
wrap it up.
It was
How
meaningful.
old are you?
I'm 21.
Okay, nice, nice.
Have you
Yeah,
seen
I
my shit
mean,
before at all, or
maybe a little bit. I've seen you on the clips of you like with the Fuentes.
oh, with the AI shit? Yeah, that was pretty viral on Twitter.
I've seen that. I've seen that. Look, bro, I'm glad people are waking up to those wipers and shit because we were for a long time. These people are dishonorable. These people are fucking fake and disingenuous, and we shouldn't play into like going to war with Christians. It's about
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to do the most,
yeah.
bro. That it's
Mhm.
been that I do not want to go to war with the Christians because
No,
we had that
bro,
unity
it's
for
like
so long.
you come from Albania, and Albania Christians and Muslims are united.
And
I come from
what's crazy
yeah,
though? One of the quotes
uh,
that even this was during the war in Kosovo. It was a
yeah,
Catholic priest, and he said, "We will." This is literal. He said, "We will melt our crosses and turn them into bullets to fight for our Muslim brothers in Kosovo." Like that's how
yeah,
tightly knitted we were.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
where did you
And
come
it's
from?
like
Finish it, please. I do want to know.
in Lebanon, Christians and Muslims did beef in the war, but in large part, even those Christians who are Maronite Catholics, they are our friends. They're just like us. They're close to us. And then, of course, the Greek Orthodox Christians, like they were always very close to my family and shit, right? So like there was never this division where we hate Christians or
Is
something
it
like that.
kind of because with us the way it is like when we're out in public, we're all
Mhm.
Albanian. The faith is just a private thing, and even like
Yeah, that is it. In Lebanon, it is like that,
it's like
honestly.
even if I'm sitting at a table and I'm Muslim and the other guy's
Hmm.
Orthodox, the other guy's Catholic, we
Hmm.
just don't talk about it. Like we
Right,
enjoy
right.
everything else.
Exactly, exactly. And it's like, bro, I understand the Goyim memes are funny and shit, but like I just trust the hell out of that shit. Like this the stuff Nick Fuentes is embracing,
Mm.
where he's like, "Oh, I like being the Jews. Everyone else is low IQ and shit." It's like, bro,
Yeah, the same thing when he literally normalized the Epstein sweaters made of his own merch and shit.
yeah,
Like
that's
I understand
stupid
how it
ass
can
shit.
be funny, but it's like this
Mhm.
was literally this guy should be evil incarnate for us. He's the
Bro,
guy that
maybe,
led our government to be what it is
bro,
today.
are we schizo if we say that they fucking shut down Kick? because of this conversation.
What? We both got it. Is it all of Cake though? Hold on, I'm gonna check the
It's
app.
got to be all of Kick.
Because
Let me check my Discord.
we're both looking at PC. Let me check app. Oh no, yo, they should shut down on the app too. Nah, that might be a little schizo, but if there
Oh,
is
wait, some
somebody,
people are still watching. Some people are still watching. They're saying,
they can see,
yeah,
bro.
but they
Well, look,
can't
look,
chat. They can
look at
still see.
bro.
We're still live. Yeah.
The app. I can't even see the app. There's nothing here. It's saying log in and sign up. Did we both just get
No, no,
kicked?
I know. But the people who still have the stream up, they can
Are
actually
they
still
saying in the
see.
Discord? Okay, okay.
Yeah, they're saying that in Discord.
All right, Haz. It was great to meet you, bro. We'll
Yeah,
definitely
good
run
to
this
see you,
back again
bro.
sometime. We'll do
For sure, for
we'll,
sure.
we'll reconvene. And yeah, shout out to ACP. I'll give you guys a salute. How do you do it fully?
Just just a normal salute, you know? That's how you got to do it. All right,
All right,
bro.
Haz.
Good
Assalamu
shit.
alaikum.
I'll see you later. Alaikum assalam. See you later, bro.
Peace. Holy shit. For the guys, whoever's still here, if you can see me, W Haas, W stream. We went 4.5 hours, bro. But dude, I think Haas was right, bro. Hello, Masad. Masad, thank you for watching. CIA, thank you for watching. Haas makes a pretty good case. I like the conversation we had. W Haas in the fucking chat. All right. Look, we might not agree on everything, but we agree on the fact that this Epstein regime has to go. We agree that there has to be a revolution, and we agree that we all need to stand up. And if the commies are standing up against this bullshit, guess what? I will be with you guys side by fucking side. I want my Sharia, which does have your socialist and communistic values to it, sure. But we're standing side by side, all right?